Welcome to Inclusion Matters, a podcast about children's development from the Center for Inclusive Childcare. Welcome to Inclusion Matters, a podcast from the Center for Inclusive Childcare. I'm Priscilla Weigel, the Executive Director, and I'm here today with one of my colleagues, Kuehn, who is leading a project that we have going on in our organization that has been going on for some time, but it's relatively new compared to the rest of our work. And so I'm excited to introduce her to you so she can share a little bit more about herself and also the work that she's doing and the Early Childhood Leadership Development Program that we have at CICC. Welcome, Kara.
Thank you. Yeah, it's great to be here. I'm excited to have this conversation.
We were just talking a little bit before we hopped on for recording and just thinking about the history of why we developed this new arm of our organization. So CICC is coming up on our 30th year. And as many of our listeners know, we began as a training project. We really focused on inclusive, quality care for all children. We still do. That's very foundational to who we are and what we are doing out in the world. But we have spent a lot of years focused on coaching out in early childhood programs, whether it's a licensed child care center or a licensed family child care. And during the course of all that time, what we noticed, and those of you who are working in the field understand this, what we noticed is that directors and leaders in early childhood settings were feeling pretty alone and feeling like they needed some connection and some support. And we kept getting that information and that feedback through our coaching work. And we realized, you know what? We really need to gather these leaders together and support them with quality tools and resources, some really focused coaching. And so we developed our early childhood leadership model. And so, Kara, why don't you tell us a little bit more about when that all came to be and what's been happening since then?
Yeah. And I think I would add, Priscilla, they were really looking for that listening ear.
Yes. Yes.
And so I think this model really, lends to offering that to leaders. We started the program in July of 2023. So it's been a few years. We have had about 8 cohorts run through this program. So when we first started it as a pilot. We had our first 8 leaders, and we really listened to their needs in the pilot and made changes and adaptations to the model. Through that, we've learned that, 6 to 8 leaders in a cohort is an ideal amount of leaders and directors. And I think, thinking about forming cohorts, when we say leaders, it really could be directors, assistant directors, curriculum coordinators, owners, CEOs of programs. And so we see a variety of participants join these cohorts.
Yeah. And so when someone signs on to a cohort, what are they signing on to? How much time and how does that whole process work?
Yeah. So a cohort typically runs for 6 months. And, the model is really based off of research-based, really that trauma-informed care, really looking to improve that program quality, create that community of support, and really building those leaders up with confidence. And so they actually get the opportunity to do kind of like an assessment. We use the whole leadership framework from McCormick. It's a quick assessment. It kind of gets the baseline of that's kind of where our conversations will lead. And it opens up those doors for conversations. And typically, each month, the leaders come together once a month for 60 minutes. And that is where we form those relationships. They're in person, they're virtual. It's really based off of the needs of the group. So if we have a group of cohorts that are like, oh my gosh, we want to meet in person every month, we make that happen. And we can be flexible. And then in addition to that, they get one-on-one coaching during each month. We have seen some leaders that were like, I need my coach every week. I need to talk to her. I need that listening ear. And we make that happen. And sometimes directors are like, I'm so busy. I can meet with you, once a month for 45 minutes. And then we'll correspond through email. And that is also the joy of this, that we can be flexible. And so through individual coaching and through community of practice, the coach really gathers what the need is. So they really look for themes, and the coach will pull themes from conversations. And then that's what the coach kind of forms the community practice topics on. And so some of those topics, we've seen a range of topics, but the big ones: increasing professionalism within the workplace. We have really looked at collaboration, building that trust amongst your staff. We really looked at family engagement. How can you get those families engaged, especially with them being so busy? And let's see what else. Power of reflection. We really spend time on the suspension expulsion prevention topic with leaders in programs. Infant mental health. I mean, I can just keep going on and on. The list will go on. And the fun part is each cohort's different. So we don't have there's no set curriculum. I really try to keep, there's no homework. So it's just really time to support them where they're at and build community.
That's fabulous and so needed and so hard to find. To find folks that are kind of in the same boat, I'm sure, is really meaningful. And I know from what you've shared and some of the impact videos that we know, the end of the cohorts, we always ask the participants to share their feelings and thoughts on how things went. And we have some really powerful stories of transformation. And I love the themes that you shared. When I'm thinking, and also kind of looking back to our history, Kara, when you talked about July 2023, when we started this program as that pilot, we funded it ourselves out of our own reserves because we felt it was so necessary. And the state of Minnesota, the Department of Children, Youth, and Families saw the good work and knew that this was a need and has added funding to our existing contracts so that this is built in. So all of this is free. Yes. All of this that you're sharing is at no cost to the educator, to the leader. They get to attend and be a part of these groups. I think, Kara, would you share a little bit too about, you touched on it, that power of reflection and those reflective tools that we provide. When the cohort wraps up, there's another bonus that happens for participants as well. Do you want to share a little bit about that?
Yeah. So I think we have discovered the importance of trying to maintain that community of support when the cohort ends. So after your 6 months, our hope, that's kind of the goal of this, is that community of support will maintain. And, we've seen different areas of how the leaders stay connected, but they are all saying, we want more. Yeah. And so what we're going to be launching is called Reflective Groups. And that will be an opportunity for the cohort to maintain connection, but it will be more of in a reflective capacity. So it will be a time for them to come together and kind of facilitate their conversation and really have time for them to pause and ask those good questions to get them to think outside the box, to get them to ponder, to get them to share ideas with one another. And so we're really looking forward to that as well. And that would be for another 6 months. And not probably as intense as the cohort, but another opportunity for them to connect as well.
That's lovely. And that reflective capacity keeps us all, I know our team, we receive reflective consultation from an endorsed reflective supervisor. That's what will be provided. So Kara is an endorsed reflective supervisor. We have a couple of other folks on our team who also are. And so the goal of those groups is to really help all of the participants understand that emotional connection and that relationship of what am I bringing to the table emotionally to these situations? And, some of those things that trigger us as leaders, as supervisors, working with very unique individuals on our teams. That's a lot of hard work every day to manage and run and lead an early childhood center. And you're dealing with, you mentioned one of the themes, the family connections. You're dealing with all of those unique families and those unique children. And then you throw in a bunch of staff who are also very unique individuals. That makes for a lot of emotional labor, as we call it. And I think the reflective groups, it's just a nice way, because those muscles are starting to get exercised through the cohort. And that's another way to just continue that development of that practice. I know that it makes such a huge difference in the day-to-day to be able to stop and pause, as you said, and really think through what's happening right now in this moment.
And I think that's a new practice for us, that reflective, especially in the field. And I think directors, they don't realize the value in it until they try it. And it's maybe a little buy-in for the reflective groups. And I've seen many individuals now, they're in a reflective group, and me personally, getting reflective consultation, I won't let that go. Like, no, right. That is my hour. And, I find so much value in it, and there's so much support. And I don't think you see the value in it until you do it. Yeah.
Truly. And it's not directed, like, here's the answer to fix all the issues that you're dealing with. It's really helping you think through the why behind those strong emotions, those strong frustrations. And it is transformative, I know, especially for those of us who work in relationship so deeply with individuals. And we're dealing with families and children at that precious early stage of life. So you're, as a leader, also supporting parents in that path of, how do I take care of this child that I've never taken care of before? And maybe they have other children, but maybe they don't. Early childhood educators are seen and looked to as necessary experts in a lot of cases. Sometimes that's a tall order.
Yeah, and a heavy order. I mean, It's heavy work.
Yeah, definitely. And one of the things, Kara, that I feel is really a lovely kind of unique aspect of our work we call it ECLD because it's a long name, Early Childhood Leadership Development Program. We try as much as we can we try to coordinate the cohort members to be in similar communities located around the state, because our organization is statewide. And so we have requests for cohort membership from all over the state. And so the intake process is kind of unique that, when you look at ECLD and how you all plan those cohorts. Do you want to share a little bit about why and the how of that?
Yeah. Since we're statewide, we do kind of look at pockets or regions of the state. And we typically identify a state where we've kind of heard there's a need. And then we will, recruit. Anybody could send an inquiry in if they're interested. And we really are trying to get cohorts by region so they can maintain those connections. And we found that to be the most valuable. We do have a few that we've pulled statewide. If a lot of interest is virtually, we found great, success in that as well. But yeah, we are moving come January. We are launching 4 new cohorts. Nice. So January of 2026. And so we're currently kind of looking in the St. Cloud area. And then we always do a metro and more of the out of metro rural area as well. Yeah, so we just kind of look at, the inquiries and see where they're at and kind of group them up that way.
That's really nice. And that also offers the opportunity, if the group agrees, to have those in-person meetings for the communities of practice each. And sometimes the cohorts have just done like the first one and the last one. Some groups have done all of the COPs, the communities of practice, in person each month. That is kind of unique because it involves, getting out of your childcare setting, getting to the place and all of that. So the bookending of the beginning and end is really a nice way to wrap things up and start things out and I think when we think about growth, I mean, we really, like, even you just saying we're launching 4 cohorts. It's super exciting. Going from 1 to now 4 at one time. And we've had, and you said earlier, 8 cohorts total to this to date. And that's a lot of educators who have gone through and a lot of leaders. And the fun thing that we're doing in October, coming up really soon here, is we're having a little retreat for all of our past participants and present participants. Do you want to just tell a little bit about that? You don't have to go into a lot of detail, but it's just going to be so much fun.
Again, our goal is to maintain these relationships. And we do not forget about our first cohort that launched in October of 2023. And so every participant that has gone through the cohorts, we keep all of that information and we don't forget about anybody. And we are really wanting to have an opportunity where they all can come together and connect in person. And so we created a little ECLD retreat. We are kicking it off on a Thursday evening, and then we are coming together on a Friday all together. We're having some time for reflection. We're having connection time. We're really wanting to feed and support them and make them feel special.
Nice.
So yeah, that's soon. It's brand new. We're excited. And like I said, we really just want to make them feel honored and special. So yeah. And Priscilla, you mentioned the community of practice. One of them coming together every single month. And that was unique. But I remember one of the leaders that said after the 6 months, after coming together every month in person, she told me, she's like, Kara, I have a community of sisters now, and I feel so much support. So you said that it was kind of unique, but she wasn't feeling alone anymore. So I thought that was kind of a fun thing she said afterwards. So.
Absolutely. Oh, that's beautiful. And I do think, so when we think about the impact as we, look at kind of wrapping up our conversation, Kara, the impact that we've seen and heard from the participants, one of them comes to mind that just when you talked about something that's very near and dear to our hearts at CICC is the prevention of suspension and expulsion, helping people understand behaviors, that it is this form of communication. It's really critical to support the child, the family, and the educator all at the same time. And one of the participants in a recent cohort shared about behavior support plans and the fact that was one of the themes that you all worked on in the coaching relationship. And that was transformative for her in her center because of just the way she had thought about it. And now she knew of a new way with just the addition of that word support, behavior support plan instead of behavior plan alone and what those things looked like. So that was beautiful and so transformative for her in her practice of leading her teams and supporting families.
And I think it's the language, right? It's just like you said, it's that one word, like that support. And through these groups and conversations and hearing that new language, can just change a little bit of their practice, which would make a huge impact in their center. So
definitely.
And I had another participant you're talking about family engagement. And one of the participants, she's like, Kara, I never thought about family engagement and how important it is to get to know the family and bring them in. And she said, I've started doing that more and more since, we've been working together. And then, long story short, this little kid comes up to her and says, you know my mom and dad? And the face, like the little child's face just lit up. And she's like, that right there showed how important it is to get to know the families and to bring them in. for the educator and the director. So I thought that gives me goosebumps to think about that, because that quote, that's all it takes. Like, my mom and dad.
Yeah. And how important that makes that child feel, because the people that are really special in their life, their early childhood director or educator and their family are connected. So that just sends that message. You know what? We've got you. Don't worry. The grown-ups in your life, we're all connected to make life better for you, little one. And what a beautiful way to end our conversation, Kara. Please look at our website, go to our ECLD tab, Early Childhood Leadership Development. You can put in you can submit an inquiry form, which will get you on the waiting list. And the beautiful thing about that, it's not this form that goes out into no man's land. You get a connection from someone on the team who will talk with you about what you're needing, what you're looking for, explain more about the cohorts, what the commitment looks like. And we just really are super excited about the opportunity that we have to transform just one child care setting at a time through this really impactful connection. So thank you, Kara Kuehn, for being on with me today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I hope that all of you out there will share information about this program with any leaders that you know, and let them know that it's free and that we just can't wait to connect with them and support them in this good work that they're doing. So thank you, listeners. If you want more information, as always, go to inclusivechildcare.org, where we have lots of resources that are free. We have training available. We have more information about ECLD, our Early Childhood Leadership Development work. And also we have an Ask an Expert tab as well. So you can submit questions about anything related to children, working with families, concerns or questions you have. And so certainly take us up on that opportunity, because we love to connect with the folks that we're serving across the state of Minnesota and across the nation. We really do have fingers everywhere. So it's exciting. Thank you, Kara. Hope you have a good day.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. For more resources, visit us at inclusivechildcare.org.